October 14th, 1943. 25,000 feet above Schweinfurt, Germany. The sky is filled with silver shapes. B-17, flying fortresses, holding formation, engines roaring in perfect rhythm. From a distance, it almost looks calm. Up here, it isn't. The air vibrates with tension. Inside one of the bombers, Staff Sergeant Robert Miller grips his .50 caliber machine gun, eyes scanning the empty sky. Too empty. That's the problem. No escort. Not anymore. They had them earlier. P-47 Thunderbolts. P-38 Lightnings. Good fighters. Strong. Fast. But they had turned back. They always do. Fuel limits. That invisible line in the sky that everyone knows is there. And once you cross it, you're alone. Where are they? Someone mutters over the intercom. No one answers. Because everyone already knows. They're gone. Miller shifts his gaze again. Clouds below. Sun above. Nothing ahead. Then, movement. Tiny black dots appear on the horizon. At first, distant. Then growing. Fast. Bandits, 12 o'clock. The voice cracks through the intercom. Instantly, the calm shatters. Messerschmitt Bf 109s. Focke-Wulf FW 190s. Coming in high. Coming in fast. Inside the bomber, everything tightens. Gunners lock in. Pilots hold formation. Because breaking formation means death. And holding formation also might. The first German fighters dive. Fast. Precise. They don't waste time. They don't hesitate. They know exactly what they're doing. Because they've done this before. Again. And again. And again. From their perspective, this is routine. Oberleutnant Egan Mayer watches from his cockpit as the American bombers hold steady. Predictable. Heavy. Vulnerable. No escort. Not this far. He smirks slightly. Zu einfach. He mutters. Too easy. They had learned the pattern. American bombers come in strong. Escorted at first. Protected. But then, they cross that invisible line. And beyond it, they are exposed. Meyer pushes his aircraft into a dive. The engine screams. The distance closes in seconds. Back inside the B-17, Miller sees them now. Close. Too close. Here they come. The sky erupts. Machine guns thunder. Tracer rounds streak through the air. Explosions tear through formations. A bomber to the left takes a direct hit. Fire bursts from its wing. It begins to fall. Slowly at first. Then faster. No parachutes. No time. Another hit. Another explosion. Miller fires. Short bursts. Controlled. But the fighters are fast. Too fast. They come in. They strike. They vanish. Then return again. And there is no one to chase them. No one to push them back. No one to even the fight. Because the escort fighters cannot reach this far. This is the reality of the air war over Germany. Not skill. Not bravery. Range. And right now, only one side owns the sky. Meyer pulls up after his attack run, glancing back at the formation. Already breaking. Already burning. He doesn't feel pressure. He feels control. Because he knows something the Americans are just beginning to understand. They cannot protect themselves all the way. And until they can, this will keep happening. Back inside the bomber, Miller reloads. Hands shaking. Breathing hard. He looks out again. Sees another wave forming. How many are there? Someone asks. Too many. The realization hits slowly. Not all at once. This mission is not just dangerous, it is unsustainable. Because no matter how many bombers they send, no matter how tight their formations, no matter how many guns they carry, without escort, they are targets. And the Germans know it. Meyer turns for another pass. Calm. Focused. Confident. Because from his perspective, this is not a challenge. It is an opportunity. And as long as the Americans cannot reach deeper, cannot stay longer, cannot fight back properly, nothing will change. The bombers will keep coming, and they will keep falling. But far from this sky, far from the smoke and fire, a solution is already taking shape. Something faster, something different, something the Germans have not yet taken seriously. And when it arrives, this sky will never feel the same again. Early 1943, somewhere over northern France. A formation of American bombers moves steadily inland, escorted this time. Short range, limited protection, but still something. Above them, German fighters circle, waiting, watching. Lieutenant Hans Dortmann tilts his aircraft slightly, studying the formation below. Bombers. Heavy. Slow. Predictable. And around them, fighters. But not the ones he respects. Mustangs, his wingman says over the radio. Dortmann glances again. Slim profile. Clean lines. Different from the bulky Thunderbolts. Different from the twin-engine Lightnings. He shrugs slightly. They won't stay long. That is all that matters. Because range defines everything. The Americans have good fighters. No doubt. But they cannot stay. They cannot go deep. They cannot protect the bombers when it matters most. And this one, this new one, it looks fast. Maybe even agile. But what good is speed if you have to turn back? The German pilots had seen this pattern too many times. Escort appears. Engagement happens. Escort leaves. Then the real fight begins. So they wait. Time passes. Minutes stretch. The American formation continues forward. Still intact. Still escorted. Dortmann checks his fuel. Calculates distance. Any moment now. They'll turn soon, he says. But they don't. 5 minutes pass. Then 10. Still there. The Mustangs remain with the bombers. Dortmann frowns slightly. That's farther than usual. But still, it doesn't matter. Eventually, they will have to turn. They always do. Below, American pilot, Lieutenant Charles Chuck Yeager adjusts his position slightly, eyes scanning the horizon. The bomber formation ahead is steady, vulnerable. And for once, he isn't worried about turning back, because today is different. The aircraft around him isn't just fast. It has range. Real range. Drop tanks extend their reach far beyond what came before. Not just to the edge of Germany, but deep inside it. And maybe even back. Yeager breathes steadily. Checks his gauges. Fuel? Still good. That changes everything. Back above, Dortmann watches. Still waiting. Still expecting the same pattern. They should be turning, his wingman says. Dortmann doesn't reply. Because now, something feels wrong. The distance has passed the usual limit. And yet, the escorts remain. Closer to Germany now. Closer to danger. Still there. Still flying. Still protecting. That's when it hits him. They're not leaving. The words come out quietly. Almost uncertain. Because if that's true, then the entire equation changes. No gap. No moment of vulnerability. No safe window. No advantage. Below, Jäger spots movement. German fighters forming, preparing. But this time, they're not alone. This is it, he says under his breath. Because for the first time, the fight will not happen after the escort leaves. It will happen with it. Dortmund makes a decision. Engage. The German fighters dive. Fast. Precise. Just like before. But this time, something is different. The Mustangs don't pull away. They don't turn back. They don't disappear. They intercept. Fast. Aggressive. Unexpected. The sky shifts instantly. Instead of bombers being hunted, the hunters are challenged. Dortmund pulls hard on the stick, narrowly avoiding incoming fire. What? This wasn't supposed to happen here. Not this deep. Not this far. He looks around, sees Mustangs everywhere. Not retreating. Not leaving. Fighting. And for the first time, the timing is wrong. The advantage is gone, because the one thing they relied on, the moment when the sky belonged to them, has vanished. Jäger pushes forward, locking onto a target. The German fighter ahead tries to break away. But there is no safe direction, no empty sky to escape into. Because now, the escort stays, the fight continues, and suddenly, this is no longer predictable. Dortmund climbs hard, trying to regain position. But his confidence is gone. Not completely, but enough, because something fundamental has changed. Not the aircraft, not the tactics, the reach. And reach controls everything. Back in formation, the bombers continue forward. Still intact, still protected. For the first time, not just part of the way, but all the way. And as the German fighters regroup, one realization begins to spread. This is not just a new plane. This is a new problem. Because if the Americans can now escort their bombers deep into Germany and stay there, then the sky itself is about to change. And what comes next will be far worse than they expect. Late 1943. High above Bremen, Germany. The sky is crowded again. Bombers in tight formation, silver bodies reflecting the pale winter sun. Vapor trails stretch behind them like scars across the sky. But this time, something else fills the air. Mustangs. Dozens of them. Maybe more. Spread out, not just close to the bombers, but ahead of them. Above them. Beyond them. They are not just escorting anymore. They are searching. Major James Howard scans the horizon, his P-51 cutting cleanly through the cold air. His eyes are not on the bombers. They are out front, where the threat begins. Because the mission has changed. Protect the bombers. Yes, but also find the enemy first. Below, the bomber crews notice it too. Fewer gaps. Fewer moments of silence. Less waiting. Because now, the escorts don't leave. They expand. German radar stations begin tracking the incoming formation. Operators relay positions quickly. Altitude, direction, speed. Large formation approaching. Heavy escort presence. That last part matters. Because now, interception is no longer simple. Lieutenant Hans Dortmund listens to the report in his cockpit. His grip tightens slightly. Escort strength? He asks. The answer comes back. Extensive. A pause. Then another voice. They are ahead of the bombers. Dortmund frowns. Ahead? That's new. Because escort fighters were supposed to stay close. Defensive. Reactive. But this is different. This is control. Still, orders are orders. Engage. comes the command. The German fighters climb, form up, prepare to strike. But the moment they break into the open sky, they're spotted. Howard sees them first. A flicker of movement against the pale horizon. There, he mutters. He doesn't wait. Brake right, take them head on. The Mustangs accelerate. Engines roaring. And suddenly, the interception is reversed. The Germans aren't diving into bombers. They're flying into fighters. Dortenmann sees them coming. Fast. Closing the distance. Too fast. Contact front, he shouts. No time to adjust. No time to reposition. The first pass is chaos. Machine guns rip through the air. Tracers cut across the sky. Aircraft twist and dive. But something is off. The rhythm is broken. German fighters are used to controlling the engagement, choosing when to strike, when to disengage. Now they're reacting. Howard pulls into a tight turn, lining up behind a Bf-109. The German pilot tries to dive away, but the Mustang follows. Smooth, fast, relentless, a short burst. The Bf-109 rolls, smoke trailing behind it, then disappears into the clouds below. Howard doesn't watch. He's already looking for the next target. Because there are more. Always more. Across the sky, the same pattern repeats. German fighters attempt to form attack runs. But they are intercepted, disrupted, pushed back, before they can even reach the bombers. Dortenmann pulls up sharply, scanning for space. There isn't any. Mustangs everywhere. Above, below, behind. This isn't escort anymore. This is domination. He tries to regroup, signal his wingmen. But the formation is already scattered, because once the structure breaks, everything becomes survival. And survival is not how this war was supposed to be fought. Below, the bombers continue forward. Steady, protected. Their gunners still scan the sky. Still ready. But fewer fighters reach them now. Fewer attacks connect. Because the fight is happening farther out. Away from them. Where it should have been all along. Back in the German formation, a realization spreads. Not through words. Through experience. This is no longer the same fight. They are not engaging isolated bombers. They are entering a controlled airspace, and they are losing control. Dortenmann finally breaks away, climbing hard, pulling distance between himself and the chaos behind him. His breathing is heavier now, focused, but different, because confidence has been replaced with caution. He looks back once, sees the Mustangs still moving, still hunting, still there. That's the difference. They don't leave. And as long as they stay, nothing else works the same. Later, reports begin to come in. Losses increasing. Interceptions less effective. Bomber formations harder to break. And one line appears again and again. Enemy fighters present throughout entire route. Entire route. That was never supposed to happen. That was the gap. The weakness. The advantage. And now, it's gone. Back at base, Dortenmann removes his helmet slowly. Says nothing. Because what he experienced in the sky doesn't need explanation. It needs acceptance. This is not a temporary change. This is a turning point. And from here on, every mission will be different. Because the one thing they relied on, the one certainty they had, no longer exists. And what replaces it will only get worse. Early 1944. Airfield outside Berlin. Snow lines the edges of the runway, thin and dirty from constant use. Ground crews move quickly in the cold, preparing aircraft that are already worn, already strained. Engines start one by one. Not with confidence, with urgency. Lieutenant Hans Dortenmann walks toward his aircraft in silence. Around him, fewer planes than before. Fewer experienced pilots. More replacements. Younger. Less certain. The briefing had been short. American bombers inbound. Heavy escort expected. That last part is no longer new. It is standard. Inside the cockpit, Dortenmann adjusts his straps, checks his instruments. Everything is in order. But something feels different. Not the aircraft. Not the mission. The odds. Stay together, comes the voice over the radio. Hit fast. Don't linger. Don't linger. That instruction didn't exist before. Before, they controlled the fight. They could attack, disengage, return. Now, time itself has become dangerous. The formation takes off, climbing into a pale winter sky. Minutes later, they see them. The bombers. Large formation. Tight. Steady. And around them, Mustangs. Not just near them. Everywhere. Dortenmann scans left. Then right. Then above. They're already here. There is no approach without detection. No safe angle. No clean attack path. Still, they push forward. They have to. Go, comes the command. The German fighters dive. Engines screaming. Speed building. But before they can reach the bombers, the Mustangs intercept. Fast. Precise. Unavoidable. The sky erupts instantly. Dortenmann pulls hard to the side as tracers streak past his canopy. He rolls. Dives. Climbs again. But every movement is met. Every angle contested. He tries to line up a bomber. Just one pass. Just one chance. But a Mustang cuts across his path, forcing him to brake. Again. And again. The bombers continue forward, untouched. Because the fight is no longer about reaching them. It is about surviving long enough to try. Across the sky, German pilots begin to disengage earlier, break formation faster. Because staying too long means not returning. Reports had already warned them. Losses increasing. Pilots not coming back. Now, they understand why. This is not an interception. This is a barrier. A moving wall of fighters that travels with the bombers, protects them, expands around them, and pushes everything else away. Dortenmann hears a voice over the radio, panicked, cutting in and out. They're behind me. I can't shake. Static. Silence. He doesn't look. He doesn't have time. Because now, every second matters. He pulls into a climb, trying to gain altitude, trying to reset. But even there, they follow. The Mustangs don't just defend. They pursue, relentlessly. Fuel is no longer a limitation for them. Distance is no longer protection. And for the first time, German airspace doesn't feel like theirs. It feels contested. No, more than that. It feels controlled. Dortenmann breaks away, heading back toward base. Not because the mission is complete, because it isn't possible. Below him, the bombers continue, uninterrupted. Their targets ahead, their path clear. Because the sky around them has been cleared. Not by absence of enemies, but by force. Back on the ground, the reports come in quickly. Fewer bombers lost. More German fighters down. And a new problem emerges. Not just aircraft. Pilots. Experienced pilots. Gone. Replaced by less trained ones. Who last even less time. The cycle accelerates. Losses increase. Experience decreases. Effectiveness drops. And all of it traces back to one change. The Mustangs. Not just their speed, Not just their firepower, their reach, because they are always there, from the coast to the target and all the way back. No gaps, no relief, just constant pressure. Dorton Man sits alone after landing, helmet in his hands, breathing steady. He replays the fight in his mind, every move, every turn, every moment he didn't have control. And that is what stays with him. Not fear, loss of control. Because once you lose that, everything else follows. Outside, another alarm begins. Another formation incoming. The war in the air doesn't pause. And now, it no longer favors them, because the sky they once dominated is slipping away. And what replaces dominance is survival. Spring 1944, high above central Germany. The bombers are back. Long silver formations stretching across the sky, engines steady, formations tight. From below, they look untouchable. From above, they are surrounded. Mustangs move with them, not in a line, not in a pattern, but in layers. Above the bombers, below them, far ahead, even behind, a complete shield. Alive, moving, watching everything. Lieutenant Hans Dortenmann climbs into the sky once more, but this time, the feeling is different from the start. No expectation of control. No assumption of advantage. Only awareness. Enemy formation approaching, comes the radio call. Escort heavy. No one asks how heavy anymore. They already know. The German fighters form up anyway. They have to, because not fighting means something worse. They push forward, climbing toward the incoming formation. But even before they reach it, contacts. Mustangs. Already there. Already moving. Dortenmann watches as one of them breaks formation early, diving toward a group of German fighters before they can even organize. Aggressive. Confident. Like they own the sky. The realization settles in quietly. They do. The engagement begins. But it is no longer a clean attack. No structured dive. No precise interception. It is fragmented. Chaotic. German fighters try to push through. Some get close. Most don't, because every path is blocked, every approach contested, and every mistake punished instantly. Dortenmann locks onto a bomber in the distance. Just for a moment. He pushes forward. Then, a flash. Tracer rounds cut across his path. He brakes hard. Another Mustang. Always another. He rolls, dives, tries to create space. But space no longer exists. Not here. Not anymore. Across the sky, the pattern repeats. German pilots disengaging early, breaking off attacks, trying to survive. Not win. Survive. Below them, the bombers continue forward. Untouched. Bomb bay doors open. Payloads drop. Explosions bloom on the ground far below. And still, the escort remains. All the way in. All the way out. No gaps. No weakness. Just presence. Back at base, the reports are no longer surprising. Losses. Again. Pilots missing. Aircraft destroyed. And one line repeated in every summary. Enemy escort present throughout entire mission profile. Entire mission. That phrase changes everything. Because it means there is no longer a safe phase of the battle. No moment to exploit. No weakness to target. The advantage that once defined the Luftwaffe is gone. Dortenmann sits in the debriefing room, silent as the numbers are read out. He doesn't argue, doesn't question, because he has seen it himself. In the sky, in the fight, in the way everything has changed. It wasn't sudden. It happened gradually. mission by mission, escort by escort, until one day it was simply different. And now it is final. Outside, the sky remains the same. Blue. Endless. But what it represents has changed completely. Because control of the air is not about who flies. It is about who stays. And now, only one side can stay. From the moment the bombers leave England to the moment they return, they are protected. Continuously. Relentlessly. And that changes the war. Factories are hit. Fuel supplies disrupted. Production slows. All because the bombers can now reach their targets and survive the journey because of one aircraft. The P-51 Mustang. Not just fast, not just powerful, but present. Where it matters. When it matters. For as long as it matters. Dorton man walks out of the building slowly, looks up at the sky. For years, it belonged to them. Controlled. Dominated. Now, it doesn't, and there is nothing left to take it back, because once you lose the sky, you lose everything beneath it. And by the time that realization fully sets in, the outcome is already decided.